Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. The house was quiet as I stood in front of the mirror, my heart pounding in my chest. My fingers trembled as they traced the contours of my face, taking in every detail of my reflection. It was me, but not quite the me I was used to seeing. The soft curves of my cheekbones, the delicate arch of my eyebrows, the gentle sweep of my lashes, all enhanced and accentuated to bring out a side of myself I'd kept hidden for so long. "Honey, are you almost ready?" My mother's voice floated up from downstairs, snapping me out of my reverie. "Just a minute, Mom," I called back, my voice catching slightly in my throat. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. This was it, the moment of truth. I smoothed down the front of my dress, a deep burgundy number that hugged my frame in all the right places. The color complemented my skin tone perfectly, making me look warm and inviting. My mother had helped me pick it out, her eyes twinkling with pride and a hint of mischief as I'd tried it on in the store. "You look beautiful, sweetheart," she'd said, her voice thick with emotion. Absolutely beautiful. Now, as I made my final preparations, I could hear her puttering around downstairs, humming Christmas carols under her breath. The smell of gingerbread and cinnamon wafted up the stairs, reminding me of all the Christmases past. But this one was going to be different. This was the Christmas Eve I was going to step out as Nikki for the first time. I applied one last coat of lipstick, a deep red that matched my dress, and stepped back to take in the full effect. The person staring back at me from the mirror was undeniably feminine, with long chestnut hair cascading over bare shoulders, smoky eyes that seemed to sparkle with anticipation, and shapes in all the right places thanks to some strategic padding. But beneath it all, I was still me. Still the same person who loved video games and action movies, who could recite entire episodes of Star Trek from memory, who secretly dreamed of being a Broadway star. The only difference was that now, for the first time, my outside matched how I felt on the inside. "Nikki," my mom's voice came again, closer this time. I heard her footsteps on the stairs. "Can I come in?" "Yeah, Mom," I replied, my voice soft. The door creaked open, and I turned to face her. Her eyes widened as she took me in, her hand flying to her mouth. For a moment, I feared the worst, that she'd changed her mind, that she couldn't handle seeing me like this. But then I saw the tears in her eyes and the proud smile that spread across her face. "Oh, sweetie," she breathed, crossing the room to pull me into a tight hug. "You look absolutely stunning." I melted into her embrace, feeling a wave of relief wash over me. "Thanks, Mom," I murmured into her shoulder. "For everything." She pulled back, holding me at arm's length to get a better look. "Are you nervous about tonight?" I nodded, biting my lip. "A little," I admitted. What if Eddie doesn't like me like this?" My mother's expression softened. "Honey, if Eddie truly cares about you, he'll love you no matter what. And if he doesn't, then he doesn't deserve you." I nodded, trying to believe her words. Eddie and I had been dating for a few months now, but he'd only ever known me as a guy. Tonight, at the Christmas Eve party, I was planning to reveal my true self to him, and to everyone else. "Remember," my mom continued, straightening my necklace, "you don't owe anyone an explanation. You're beautiful, you're brave, and you're being true to yourself. That's all that matters." I took a deep breath, nodding. "You're right, I can do this." She smiled, giving my hand a squeeze. "That's my girl. Now let's get you to that party. Your chariot awaits, princess." We made our way downstairs, where I slipped on a pair of black heels that made me feel like I could conquer the world. As we stepped out into the crisp December air, snowflakes began to fall gently around us, as if nature itself was celebrating my transformation. The drive to the party was a blur of Christmas lights and nervousness. I kept checking my makeup in the visor mirror, making sure everything was perfect. My mom reached over at a red light, patting my knee reassuringly. "You've got this, Nikki," she said softly. "Just be yourself." As we pulled up to the venue, a beautifully decorated community center that glowed with warmth and festivity, I felt my heart rate pick up. This was it. No turning back now. My mom helped me out of the car, careful not to let me slip on the icy sidewalk in my heels. "Do you want me to come in with you?" she asked. I shook my head. "No, I think I need to do this on my own." She nodded, understanding in her eyes. "Okay, sweetie. Remember, I'm just a phone call away if you need me. And Nikki," I turned back to look at her, "I'm so proud of you." With those words bolstering my courage, I turned and made my way towards the entrance. The sound of laughter and music drifted out as I approached, and I paused for a moment, taking a deep breath to steady myself. "You can do this," I whispered to myself. "You're Nikki. You're beautiful. You're brave." With one final deep breath, I pushed open the door and stepped into the warmth and light of the party. The room was a winter wonderland, decked out in silver and blue decorations. A massive Christmas tree dominated one corner, its lights twinkling merrily. People milled about, chatting and laughing, drinks in hand. For a moment, I felt overwhelmed by the sea of faces, searching desperately for a familiar one. And then I saw him, Eddie. He was standing near the punch bowl, looking devastatingly handsome in a dark blue suit that brought out the color of his eyes. My breath caught in my throat as I watched him laugh at something someone said, his whole face lighting up with mirth. Before I could lose my nerve, I started making my way towards him. My heels clicked against the floor, drawing a few curious glances. But I kept my eyes fixed on Eddie. As I got closer, he turned, his eyes sweeping over the room, and then landing on me. For a heart-stopping moment, I saw confusion flicker across his face. Then recognition dawned, followed by an expression I couldn't quite read. Surprise, shock, disgust. I felt my confidence wavering, but I forced myself to keep walking. "Eddie," I said softly as I reached him, my voice higher and softer than usual. "Hi." He blinked, his mouth opening and closing a few times before he finally managed to speak. "Nikki?" he said, his voice a mix of disbelief and something else. Is that you?" I nodded, feeling a blush creep up my cheeks. "Yeah, it's me. I hope you're not too disappointed." Eddie's eyebrows shot up. "Disappointed?" he repeated. "Are you kidding me? You look absolutely incredible." Relief flooded through me, making my knees weak. "Really?" I asked, hardly daring to believe it. He nodded emphatically. "Really? I mean, wow, just wow." He gestured vaguely at my outfit. "You look beautiful, but more than that, you look happy, comfortable, like you're finally being yourself." I felt tears prick at my eyes, threatening to ruin my carefully applied makeup. "I am," I admitted. This is who I've always been, Eddie. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I was just so scared." Eddie reached out, taking my hand in his. "Hey, no apologies needed. I'm just glad you felt comfortable enough to share this with me now." He paused, a small smile playing at his lips. "Though I have to admit, I had my suspicions." I blinked in surprise. "You did?" He chuckled. "Well, yeah. I mean, you always got a little too excited when we watched RuPaul's Drag Race together. And remember that time you accidentally bought women's jeans and insisted on wearing them anyway because they were so comfortable?" I laughed, feeling the tension that had been building up inside me for weeks start to dissipate. "I can't believe you noticed that." Eddie's expression turned serious. "I notice everything about you," he said softly. "Because I care about you, all of you, no matter how you choose to express yourself." I felt my heart swell with emotion. "Eddie, thank you. That means more to me than you can know." He smiled, squeezing my hand. "So, Nikki," he said, emphasizing my chosen name in a way that made my heart skip a beat. "Would you like to dance?" I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. Eddie led me out onto the dance floor just as the DJ switched to a slow song. He pulled me close, one hand on my waist, the other still holding mine. As we swayed to the music, I rested my head on his shoulder, breathing in his familiar scent. For the first time in my life, I felt truly, completely myself, and I was accepted, loved even. "Nikki," Eddie murmured into my hair. I lifted my head to look at him. "Yeah." He took a deep breath, as if steeling himself for something. "There's something I've been wanting to ask you for a while now, but I was waiting for the right moment. And I think this is it." My heart started racing. "What is it?" Eddie stopped dancing, taking both of my hands in his. He looked into my eyes, his gaze intense and full of emotion. "I love you," he said simply. "I love every part of you. The part I've known all along and this beautiful new side you're sharing with me now. And I want to keep loving you, supporting you, and standing by your side as you continue to discover and express who you truly are." I felt my breath catch in my throat. "Eddie, what are you saying?" He smiled, reaching into his pocket and pulling out a small velvet box. As he got down on one knee, I heard gasps and whispers from the people around us, but all I could focus on was Eddie's face, shining with love and determination. "Nikki," he said, opening the box to reveal a stunning diamond ring. "Will you marry me?" For a moment, I couldn't speak. Tears spilled down my cheeks as I looked at Eddie, this wonderful, accepting, loving man who wanted to spend his life with me, exactly as I was. "Yes!" I finally managed to choke out. "Yes, Eddie, of course I'll marry you!" The room erupted in cheers and applause as Eddie slipped the ring onto my finger and stood up, pulling me into a kiss. As we broke apart, both of us grinning like fools, I caught sight of my mom standing near the entrance, tears streaming down her face as she clapped and cheered along with everyone else. In that moment, surrounded by love and acceptance, with the promise of a beautiful future stretching out before me, I knew that I had made the right choice. This was who I was meant to be. This was my truth. As Eddie and I made our way through the crowd, accepting congratulations and well wishes, I couldn't stop smiling. For the first time in my life, I felt truly, completely whole. I was Nikki, inside and out, and I was loved. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of joy and celebration. Eddie and I danced, laughed, and shared our story with friends and acquaintances. Many were surprised, but the overwhelming response was one of support and happiness for us. As the night wore on, Eddie and I found a quiet moment alone on the balcony. The snow was falling gently, creating a picturesque winter scene. I shivered slightly in the cold air, and Eddie immediately wrapped his arm around me, pulling me close. "Are you happy?" he asked softly, his breath forming small clouds in the chilly air. I looked up at him, my heart full to bursting. "Happier than I've ever been," I replied honestly. I can't believe this is real. That you accept me, that you want to marry me." Eddie's arms tightened around me. "Of course I do. Nikki, you're the most amazing person I've ever met. Your bravery in being true to yourself only makes me love you more." I snuggled closer to him, reveling in his warmth and the feeling of complete acceptance. "I was so scared," I admitted. "I thought I'd lose you when you found out." He shook his head, pressing a kiss to my temple. "Never. I fell in love with your soul, Nikki. Your kindness, your humor, your passion. The package it comes in doesn't change that." We stood in comfortable silence for a few moments, watching the snow fall. Then a thought occurred to me. "Eddie," I said, turning to face him, "what about your family? Do you think they'll accept us?" Eddie's face grew serious. "I won't lie. It might be a bit of a shock for them at first, but they love me, and I know they'll come to love you too. We'll face whatever comes together, okay?" I nodded, feeling a surge of courage. With Eddie by my side, I felt like I could face anything. "Together," I agreed. As we made our way back inside, I caught sight of my reflection in a window. The person looking back at me was radiant with happiness, eyes shining with joy and love. For the first time, I truly saw myself. Not the mask I'd been wearing for so long, but the real me, Nikki. The party was winding down, but the night felt like it was just beginning. As Eddie and I said our goodbyes and prepared to leave, my mom approached us, her eyes still misty with happy tears. "I'm so proud of you both," she said, pulling us into a group hug. "Eddie, welcome to the family." Eddie grinned, squeezing her back. "Thank you for raising such an amazing daughter," he said, and I felt my heart swell at his use of the word. As we drove home, the streets quiet and peaceful under their blanket of snow, I couldn't stop looking at the ring on my finger. It sparkled in the light of the street lamps, a constant reminder of the love and acceptance I'd found. "What are you thinking about?" Eddie asked, glancing over at me. I smiled, reaching out to take his hand. "The future," I replied. "Our future. There's so much to figure out, so many challenges ahead." Eddie squeezed my hand. "We'll face them together," he said confidently. "One step at a time." As we pulled up to my house, I saw that my mom had left the porch light on for us. It cast a warm, welcoming glow over the snow-covered lawn. Eddie came around to open my door, offering his hand to help me out. "My lady," he said with a playful bow. I giggled, accepting his hand and stepping out carefully in my heels. As we walked to the front door, arm in arm, I felt a sense of rightness settle over me. This was where I belonged. This was who I was meant to be. My mom was waiting up for us, a tray of hot chocolate and cookies set out in the living room. As we settled in to recount the events of the evening, I felt a wave of gratitude wash over me. For my mom's unwavering support, for Eddie's love and acceptance, for the strength I'd found within myself to be true to who I was. The clock struck midnight, officially marking the start of Christmas Day. As Eddie leaned in, I made a silent wish. Not for presents or material things, but for the courage to continue on this path, to keep being authentically myself, and to spread love and acceptance to others who might be struggling with their own identity. This Christmas, I had received the greatest gift of all, the freedom to be myself and the love to support me through it all. As Nikki, I was ready to step into the future, hand in hand with Eddie, and face whatever challenges lay ahead. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of gentle snowfall outside my window. For a moment, I wondered if it had all been a dream, the party, Eddie's proposal, the acceptance I'd found. But then I felt the weight of the ring on my finger, and a smile spread across my face. It was real, all of it. I stretched languidly, enjoying the feeling of silk pajamas against my skin. Another gift from my mom, who had gone all out in supporting my transition. As I sat up, I caught sight of myself in the mirror across the room. My makeup from the night before was smudged, my hair a mess, but I had never felt more beautiful. A soft knock at the door interrupted my reverie. "Nikki," my mom's voice called. "Are you awake, sweetie? Eddie's here." My heart skipped a beat at the mention of his name. "Coming?" I called back, quickly running a brush through my hair and wiping away the worst of the smudged makeup. I made my way downstairs, my steps light and eager. Eddie was in the living room, chatting with my mom. He looked up as I entered, and the love in his eyes took my breath away. "Merry Christmas, beautiful," he said, standing up to greet me with a hug. "Merry Christmas," I replied, unable to keep the grin off my face. My mom cleared her throat, an amused smile playing at her lips. "Why don't you two open your presents while I get breakfast started?" We settled down by the Christmas tree, its lights twinkling merrily. Eddie and I took turns opening gifts, exclaiming over each one. But the best gift, we both agreed, was sitting next to each other, free to be ourselves and in love. As we finished up, Eddie suddenly looked nervous. I have one more gift for you," he said, reaching into his pocket. He pulled out a small wrapped package and handed it to me. With trembling fingers, I unwrapped it to reveal a delicate silver necklace with a pendant in the shape of a butterfly. "It's beautiful," I breathed, running my fingers over the intricate design. Eddie smiled, taking the necklace and moving to fasten it around my neck. "I chose a butterfly because it reminded me of you," he explained. "The way you've transformed, becoming your true self. It's been amazing to watch, Nikki. You're so brave and so beautiful." Tears pricked at my eyes as I touched the pendant, now resting against my collarbone. "Thank you," I whispered. The rest of the day passed in a blur of family, food, and laughter. Thanks for watching. Check out Patreon if you want to have early access to the other parts. If not, it will be online in a couple of days.